perfect. You guys can hear us and you guys can see us. I think it's a sight to see, first of all. I think look at this panel. This represents close to, I think, more than 60% of India's media consumption, probably, or more, I would like to believe. And what a session to have after lunch. I mean, you couldn't get better insights. So without further ado, I think let's hear from the people itself versus me interjecting too much. Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the panel, which I believe is one of the most important conversations as we, as industry leaders, have agile media strategies for an unscripted future. With such an expertise on stage, it's a perfect time to reflect on the incredible pace at which media consumption is transforming. In India alone, over 800 million people are online with mobile, with connectivity as a default. Globally, OTT audiences are set to surpass close to 3.7 billion. India's OTT universe is almost 600 million people, around 41% of our population. Connected TV has overtaken laptop and tablets as the second most used streaming device, adding 35 million new users just last year. At the same time, 23% of consumers have gone digital only, challenging traditional media strategies to keep up. These numbers are not just stats. They signal there's a need for agility, insight, and creativity like never before. Today's most effective campaigns start with mood, emotion, and cultural resonance, and then layered in data, automation, and technology. Vibe marketing, using AI to execute campaigns centered around overarching emotional tone, is leading the new wave. A lot is happening in the digital and the overall media landscape, and what better to get it from these experts. I'll start with a very generic question to all three of you, right? And this is about the panel topic itself, agile media strategies for an unscripted future. What does this represent to you, both as an individual leader and within your organization? Audiences are increasingly fragmenting across screens, languages, regions. Media consumption is evolving faster than ever. Would love to know your insights. Let's start with you, Anisha, as I can see you directly on the extreme right. What does it mean for you as an individual and for the ecosystem and agency that you represent?
Okay, now, brevity being, I think, the theme of the day. My sense is in all of this chaos, the magic is in integration. No matter how much fragmentation exists, I think if you can get your story right at an integrated standpoint, then branching out becomes easier. If you try and build 10 narratives, then it'll be trouble. You'd rather have one and then have 10 branches of it. So whether it's an individual or an organization, it's a fairly aligned view.
And this term agile, I think we've been hearing this for a fairly long time. There was a time when social came and took over, and then is when we were thinking agile. But today with users across screens, there is not really a screen for the user. How do you look at it from the group standpoint and agency that you represent? Are you seeing a lot of change, especially specific to India, because we are not one language, we are not one kind of audiences? Just give us more insight on how do you look at the future, and maybe it's not even 5 years, maybe the next 2 years. What do you see changing, or probably fragmentation going into integration?
Look, I think the need for agility is not new. Fundamentally, there's a North Star you chase, there's a plan you put in place. You walk that path, at whatever point in time you realize it's not heading towards the North Star, you need to have the, I guess, a plan and goal to move it around. Maybe the only difference is what would happen, say, after 2 weeks or after a month. You might have to do it in a matter of hours now. I think that's the only difference in that sense, but the need for agility hasn't really changed. Plus, I don't want to say what will happen 2 years from now. I am not Nostradamus. I have no idea. I did not know this will happen 2 years ago. So, and that's okay. But we are at a certain. Okay, let me put it this way: the digital proliferation, again, for India is not new. I think COVID kind of accelerated that a little bit with respect to acceptance and scale. Now that one, it's sort of become mainstay now, so I don't think it's an afterthought in any case. The need for agility isn't an afterthought. India has over 50 languages, isn't new. It has been there since the word go. So if we didn't plan for it in the past, then shame on us. We may as well do it now. So again, I'm saying sentimentally, the need for agility is not new. The fact that India is diverse is not new. The fact that there's chaos happened when, your free-to-air and cable and satellite came in when one channel became 300. So it's the same problem. It's just magnified 50 times over. The speed is slightly faster. So, just run a little faster, that's all.
I'll circle back on a few of these for sure. From one legend to the next. Vinod, I think agile media strategies. You've seen many agility-led strategies. You've led so many of them. What's your thought as an individual, as in 2025, and also from a dentsu standpoint? How are you looking at the ecosystem and this topic in general?
Hello. Yeah. So I guess, like I think Anisha mentioned, agility or speed to execution is nothing new. But what definitely we're trying to do is we're talking about three things. And I'll put this in perspective. It's about sense, it's about decision making, it's about activation. And I'll give you examples of these. Sense, understanding the consumer, it's about looking at lots of signals today which already the consumer is giving you because they are on search, they're on social, they're transacting, and hence you get a lot of signals which tomorrow can lead into different kinds of strategies, can lead into making a decision or making a plan, and that can lead into agile-based activation and hence optimization to make sure to give excellent results which you're KPI'd on. So that's point number one. I guess point number two is about a unified reach. It's not about TV versus CTV versus digital versus other things. It's about how can you give an integrated plan to a client to achieve their core KPIs. That's point number two. Point number three, I think it's about, we spoke about many Indias, but it's also about how agile can you be when it comes to personalization and creative optimization, which is DCO today. And hence, it's not about monitoring any campaign which we used to do earlier. It's about monitoring, optimizing the campaign on hourly, weekly, monthly basis. And that's what the kind of agility, speed, I think all of us are supposed to do and are doing it for our respective clients over here. I think last, if I have to say, is basically trying to understand real-time signals. How can I get into real-time actions and hence giving the right decisions, stroke optimization triggers to achieve the KPIs. So that is what I felt.
Thanks, Vinod. I think I'll circle back on you for sure in the next round with ROI. The definition of ROI itself has changed over its heel. And I think when we do speak to clients or when we do speak to ad tech or partners, the definition of ROI has completely shifted. And we'll come back on that probably. But before we get there, Priti, obviously you've been another legend on this panel. You've been around for a long time to see many strategies evolving over so many years. How do you define it for you yourself as an individual? And obviously from a WPP standpoint, this topic of agile media strategies for an unscripted future. Unscripted future is bold, somehow put in this panel.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that. First of all, I must tell you to the panel here and to the audience and whoever's watching that this is one of the most agile three people you will see in this industry.
Agree.
We rub it off on each other. But that apart, I think wherever we work it's also how the world has changed. So I'm going to define it in two parts. One is how people have defined agility for themselves, how organizations are defining agility for everybody in the organization and the clients, and how consumers' reaction times have also changed. And what you see in the market today is a summation of all these things, right? And what has blended the agility together is a lot of creativity, right? Because without that, the tech, AI, ML, humans, non-humans, nothing will function without a blend of creativity. I think today as organization, as WPP Media and as WPP, if you see the name change itself was powered by, name change was not a name change, actually it's a way of working change, right? And it was much needed, right? We all had to peel off the old layers and get into a new skin. And this skin involves us agility as not being a separate definition point today. I don't think it's for any of us. Because I mean, if you go and speak to any brand team or a client ecosystem or a commerce ecosystem, it is how we think and move, right? That's at the stage one. And hence, for them to think and move like that, what are the enablers? And that's how you build the whole ecosystem around it. And that's how I personally see agility being built in. The younger generation that's joining workspace today are joining like that. They are not burdened by our past, how we grew up was in the industry. They are as basic as Microsoft has a co-pilot which is giving them intelligence enough to not read through everything, right? That is one leg of agility, but at the same time, the rigor of agility is also built into it. So it's as basic as that. And how can we create custom creatives by audience, by pin code, by product category, all some 8-10 combination overnight, that is also possible today. So both are agility in that sense.
True. I think I think we come from an era where, advertising on TV used to be the benchmark of the brands reaching to the top of the food chain, right? But then again, if I remember back in our days, and if I look and compare it,
TV still exists in the connected.
Well, very much does. I
Yeah.
mean, TV is TV, whether you call it connected TV or TV. I don't remember the last time you saw a box TV. I think all TVs that are made are smart. And by the way, if you survive COVID, internet is not really a luxury if you still have your job, and most people have Wi-Fi at home. So thereby, I think that switch that got turned on post-COVID, which is realizing that why am I watching this content on my individual screen? I can see it on a bigger screen, got the families together, and I mean, most of us would have watched Squid Games. None of us are Koreans. We watched it. All of us watch Money Heist, none of us are Spanish. So I think it also opened up a lot of things. And with connected TV, I think we're moving away from the whole postmortem of I did media spends and share of voice, share of market, to saying, this is not working for me now. Let's move on to this probably platform and change this, because we can see real time what's happening. So I think agility is actually by definition become a part of our own structure, right? And if we are not adapting, we are failing to go there. I'll come back on this, Priti, and we'll talk more. And we can talk so much, right, with this panel. Anisha, OMD's new positioning, we create what's next, focuses on anticipating consumer shifts, using AI, data, technology to deliver innovative media solutions. With this approach shaping how campaigns are planned and executed, how does OMD strike the balance between creative intuition, data-led decision-making to ensure campaigns are both memorable and measurable?
Okay, look, fundamentally, I think the reason we moved from what we used to pride ourselves on sentimentally as better decisions faster, in the similar, I think, breadth, we create what's next comes up as a fairly natural next step. Couple of things. I think one of the reasons we created that was we were less about, and more, at least in India, I can assure you, I think this is less about here and now trying to retain clients, but more about building partnerships for the future. There is a reason that over time we've clocked well on client retention because it was by design. I mean, it happened fundamentally in the organization that we're not afraid to ask the hard questions. We speak fairly brutally, honestly. Uncomfortable conversations sometimes become the beginning of a very, very tight and long-term relationships, and we value that. So fundamentally, that's where it emerges from. So it's less about data-led decision-making or creativity or any of that, but fundamentally, it's about being a long-term partner. What emerges from that, therefore, is being able to balance the entire ecosystem, because we're one of the components of what makes this machinery run. It's us, which is the agency, tools, processes. There is the agency teams, which are the people side of it. There are your clients split into two parts, your client people as well as your client goals and businesses, and then your partners who are with you all the way to kind of enable the entire ecosystem. So while we can work in tandem with the client in terms of creation, the understanding of how we do this today and tomorrow is powered by what the client's vision is, what our signals tell us, and what the partners help us deliver. So if all of this, it's not an OMD principle that OMD delivers alone. That's not how it's meant to be, and that's not how it will be ever. It's the power of the collective. There is a lot of focus on building this together, and the manner in which we bring this alive for our clients is what we call raising the roof on delivery, because there is a certain ceiling in everyone's head that this is probably where it would end today. But I think as an agency partner, it's our job to kind of raise that roof a little bit, to say that there's a little more that you can push in order to see something. And like I said earlier, one may never be able to say what's going to happen a year from now or 2 years from now, but you can be prepared for 10 days from now, for example. And just that, if you can just do that, then your components help you. So data helps you, agility helps you, our platform Omni helps us. All of these things then become components that help you. Forums like these help us. You know, you'll have conversations with people, at least you know for the next 10 days what seems to be the message brewing overall in the industry, and that's great. So that's technically what we create What's Next stands for. So it's about building together, it's raising the roof on delivery, and it's delivering all of this in a, I think, an important point, I think, from an agency standpoint, in a very commercially viable way as well. This is not about ending up in the red at the end of the day. We're all running businesses. So as long as the three components kind of work together and commercially viable for us, for the clients, for the partners, again, not singularly, that's essentially what the positioning is.
It's very interesting, Anisha, because I think thinking measurable and memorable, you know, that used to be a difficult balance to strike.
That.
You know, I think this used to be a very difficult balance, and the creative ecosystem was operating with its large budgets and great directors and larger than life. Today we live in a world of AI creating 200 creatives within a matter of 30 seconds. But again, the creative freedom of that is taken away, but then there is a balance to be struck on what delivers the ROI and what is creatively viable for the brand. I'm sure you come across in your own boardrooms so many of these conversations. And how do you see this balancing out? Because I think I remember we were in a panel on AI, and at the end of the day, this is too overabused. You know, somebody watched Terminator, I think 25 years back. None of the robots are right now running the world, right? AI has been around for a while. It's just being conversed a lot more. How do you see that balance within your own teams or across levels within the teams as well, right? Is it adoption bottom up, or is it now also being pushed top down? That, guys, if this is not an important part of how you look at things, it's something that you need to learn and adapt to very quickly.
Even that is a balance. So you will have to, direction will have to be top down. You can't expect 50,000 directions coming bottom up. I mean, you won't build an organization like that. You'll look at trends, you'll look at conversations, you'll look at what clients are saying, what teams are equipped with, what they're not equipped with, but directionally, that will come top down. But what you do need is consent. I think more often than not, or a buy-in. If not consent, at least a buy-in. More often than not, I think top-down strategies fail because it's pushed. When you asked the question, you said pushed inadvertently, but that seems to be generally the manner in which it's run, which to my mind is trouble, because I think it's our responsibility, if we're the ones setting the direction, to first at least acknowledge the fact that you exist as an important component in the equation that defines this direction. And do you have a buy-in, therefore, of doing so? If you don't have your team's buy-in or your client's buy-in to do so, then don't do it. It won't help. So that itself is a balance. And to your earlier point to say that, you know, creative freedom is lost, I don't think so. I think creative freedom is probably better now because you can experiment so much. I mean, earlier you had to get that one thing right. Now you can do 50 things and 45 could fail. Who cares? 5 will work. So creative freedom is at an all-time high right now. Machines are helping you produce faster, but you can think 8 different angles and put it all out there to see what works. So yeah, it's a better day for a creative person, not a worse day.
It's good to hear, Anisha. I think we'll come back and hear some more examples of that. It's always nice to hear. Vinod, I have a interesting question for you, which obviously comes from your massive experience. The regional content now drives 60% of digital consumption in India and is shaping how brands connect with audiences at scale. At iProspect, how are you harnessing this regional storytelling as a growth engine? I know you're doing some exciting stuff there. We've seen, I'm aware, but I would love for you to share. Turning this local authenticity into national and global impact.
Yeah, so, in our organization, I think one thing which we've already done is we've understood that today it's not about one creative agency or a media agency or a tech agency or a social agency. It's actually an integrated offering to the client. And why I say that is because a client is looking for one business solution, and it's not only a creative or a media solution. Having said that, I think we stay in India, and India is many Indias. It's about India, it's about Bharat, and hence what we always talk about to our clients is how can you talk to the consumers, which has a very if I could say, very small attention span. Behaviors are changing, and hence the kind of communication which you need to do needs to do in more of a local language to them. It's not only the creatives I'm talking about, it's about everything you do with the creative, with the destination, and what do you tend to offer. So that's one part on regionalization, and I think I spoke earlier about DCO versus creative optimization, and that's helping us a lot. The other thing I think which we always try and do is we try build indigenous tools and tech, which is actually from the last, I would say, 6 to 8 months has helped us a lot in basically churning out effective media campaigns, talking about optimizations real time, and hence giving excellent KPIs or rather, results to our clients. I guess putting all these things together, I think we are in a good spot today. And we also realized it pretty early in the day, and if you see how dentsu has built it, we've also done that. Everything can't be done ourselves. Hence partnerships, hence these things are very, very critical to our kind of environment. Hence we work and we are open with different kinds of partners. We meet so many new tech today, whether it's AI, whether it's in the MarTech ecosystem, whether it's in the performance or outcome-based ecosystems, and they all have something very unique to offer, and how can we partner them? Why do we do all these things? We do all these things because I think A, it gels well with our principle, B, it makes business sense for us, C, at the end of the day, client is at the center. Whatever you do, it needs to have a perfect outcome for the client, and that's where it makes us what we do for them.
Very interesting, Vinod. I think, today with obviously the advent of so many MarTech solutions and AdTech solutions at your behest, to be able to integrate a story but still be told in so many different ways, across so many different platforms, across so many different screens and many different languages, has become so more accessible, right? And I think what was the requirement has become the need of the hour. Yeah. How are you guys seeing some of these things in your usual national clients that you deal with, which was always like, oh, we have a different story for South, we have a different ambassador for South, oh, but this is not going to work in North. Is it something that you're seeing progressing much faster? And I know a few companies and brands which have completely moved to the AI side of things and saying, guys, we don't need to do that kind of thought process. We are very well addressing this concern of media addressable by some of the advent of new tools. Are you seeing it quite often yourself as well?
No, I think it's a very good question. I think I'll break it up into two parts. One is, how easy is it to work? So it's not easy. Let me put it up front. And why I'm saying this is because when we started integrations between creative media, tech, MarTech, and other things, these are different skill sets, different people, getting them to work together. it is not easy. Hence, we had our challenges, but we walked the talk because at the end of the day, that's what the client needs. Having said that, to your second point on how are the clients basically activating it, I think currently the clients are also consumers. They also see what audiences and people like us are consuming today. And hence, when we present to them and when we tell them that these are the things which are changing. And the other thing is, it's not about, I always tell the clients, it's not about, chasing change. It's about how immediately can you accept, be agile, see the triggers, and change, course correct, whether it's a performance campaign, whether it's a brand campaign, or whether it's a full funnel campaign. Having said that, I guess we've also distilled these thoughts to the client, saying that when you're talking to different parts in India, you need to communicate differently. You can't have one single creative talking to India, and that it's not today. Let me also put it, I think we all have been doing this from quite some time. But what actually enables us is, putting it out there. A/B testing is far more easier. Today you have different kinds of creative routes. AI is helping us doing those things. And after that, whatever works, you can then scale that up. So I think we've learned that. We are yet learning. In this forum, I won't say that we know it all. At least I am learning. I'm meeting partners, and every day it's a great learning experience for us. And like I earlier said, I guess working with them is also, making sure that we are also up the curve. I always tell our teams that you need to make sure what's happening in the media industry, in the creative industry, in advertising to be upfront, because otherwise you'll soon become dinosaurs. And there is no right or wrong. It's actually, depending on how I'm motivated to learn myself, and that's what keeps us going.
That's a wonderful point, Vinod, because I think education to self and to clients is what's leading the way for the change. I think most of the partners on the entertainment side will tell you that close to 55 to 60% of their user base is accessing content beyond Hindi, which is vernacular, right? The whole inhibition of, where we, in our old days, that the media was split between IPL in the beginning of the year and Big Boss at the end of the year, has really transformed, right? I think it is really changed into people now understanding and accepting that your media doesn't need to be slotted in certain shows. It can still be well spread across, because this viewer is not the habitual way. He's not going to be watching Big Boss at 9. He'll say, "मैं तो Big Boss Sunday को सुबह उठ के देखूंगा, तो you figure out how you want to reach to me." And I think that acceptance and adoption with the viewing consumption habits itself changing is bringing about that change. So let's circle back on that. Preeti, I have a very diverse question for you. Like everyone else, and I think WPP is obviously also doing some revolutionary work in the world of AI and data. And is obviously not now gearing, like you said, for the next phase of growth in India. You're integrating your AI, data, innovation, and you're also nurturing talent, right? How do you envision these capabilities transforming the ways brands approach agile media strategies? What role does talent development play in ensuring that your teams can execute this unscripted, fast-moving landscape?
So to me, I wouldn't call it unscripted, because we are scripting for the need of the business.
Interesting,
right?
True.
So the scripting, what will work for, say, an FMCG brand will not be like to like for a pharma brand or to a retail brand, right? So everything has its own journey. Why we are calling it unscripted is because we don't know what is changing in the future. But the reality is, for campaigns then and now, we know what is happening. That's the good news. So there's nothing to be so worried about the unscripted part of it. For me, there is lots that's scripted. What is unscripted is what we used to have, that 70-30-10. That 10 is the unscripted part. It's nothing new. We're just bringing new jargons into the game. What is unscripted to me really is this whole imagination that everything AI will do. So the brief will come from the AI. The campaign will be created by the AI, executed by AI, reported by AI, brand manager is AI, agency is AI, everybody is AI. that is Terminator movie, right? So that's not happening. That didn't happen yet. That will not happen in future also. I think the right balance of, like we do a lot of creatives using AI. You'll not know the difference, trust me, right? But you also blend it with the real creative shoots and whatever. Everybody's doing it. It's not unique to us. I wouldn't say it's unique, but what we learn out of it and how we replicate it faster and on scale and for category relevance is what we are specializing and focusing our energies on. Because some of it might be Me Too, some of it might be first in the industry, some of it might be a replica of the past in different format, like Agile as a word, right? But at the same time at WPP, we are also looking at the integration of the narratives across our ecosystem also. So WPP Media is not just about media, it's about how creatively we can rendition the media, because the platforms are allowing you to do that, right? So that's the beauty of it. How instant analytics can give us better results in changing some of the creative elements using AI and then enhancing the creative and the media and the audience. It's real, right? So there is no unscripted there. We're not getting new unscripted audience suddenly. The audience is the audience, right? So I'm really not sure about what is unscripted. In my mind, it's about what we can create and script together with the client brand narrative or the consumer narrative. I think we have enough and more enablements today. Today I can have a performance planner create a AI language, ML language and agentic AI for deploying something in an instant. So it's not unscripted anymore. He knows what he wants agents to do. Correct? So that to me is the biggest enabler we are giving to talent, because it's all open sourced for them to create and enhance for the client that they're working on and for the workflow that they have, right? So there is one which we have to deliver to client, and the agility is how do I make the whole panel that we have delivered to them. And that's where talent will shift. When, say, even 5 years back, the kind of talent we used to bring in, to now what we are bringing in, that is the big shift that you see in the industry in the next 5 years, because this whole talent is used to a certain now way of working, which will then change how we script our future in a different format. So we are investing a lot in that. It's open source for the employees. It's uniformed across, uniformity across WPP, not just WPP Media. There's a lot of integrations in that space. There's a lot of client-specific integrations that you will see. Large clients, mid clients, SME clients, everything is custom solutioning for them. So I think that beauty of it landing together, and we've all seen enough in our industry now to say that how do I custom language it for that cohort or a cluster or a typology of clienteles. I think that's where we are having a lot of joy.
I think all three of you, you're CXOs of large, biggest media holdcos, right? And you're also tech giants, I mean, with the kind of acquisitions that you guys have done globally as well as locally, the development of tech. Do you often find yourself conversing with some of your clients and in your boardroom meetings and saying, guys, skip that investment on the ad that you're making. We have the technology today to save millions and millions of dollars of those PPMs and shoots that you're doing, and we can convert. Have we reached that stage yet where, because for the longest time I believe everybody said, oh, we are a verticaler, this is vertical, mobile penetration, but ad to sab tabhi bhi aise hi bana rahe hain. So then we are saying let's shift our, how we look at it. Have we reached that stage yet?
Already, that's already I think most of our clients, we see it all the time. But I don't think it's I think it's fair to compare it with a creative thinking and say don't do PPMs. I don't agree. But the way they do PPMs, they only have changed. No? So it's very unfair for us to put that this is a creative versus a media. No, it's a great collaborating point. And that's where we have transformed, where we handle clients and PPMs will exist, there will be ad shoots, but how will you blend in both and how it will coexist? I don't think I want to isolate it.
Fair. I think just to add that, I think like Priti mentioned, I guess we've already done that. Nothing new, to be honest. Also, I think what is new is the integration philosophy. When you go and sit as one team in front of the client, there is no creative, there's no media. There's an agency sitting with you, which is KPI to give you business solutions. Now, you could then tell the client that, look, and I'll just give you an example, whether a global creative is adapted as is in India, you need to stand up and say that it won't work, because we are talking many Indias, because we are talking creatives made for the platform. We are talking platform out rather than the same 30-seconder or a 45-seconder. I think those are the times where today, and I think, to be honest, clients are also open, more responsive, does the changes, and they see the results themselves. So I guess it's not about
they will
past
only see
anymore.
benefit.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Nisha, chip in, come on. Is there another mic, guys?
No, that's good. Don't worry about it. Look, if there is a change that has happened, and I will say this for businesses where the creative and media agency don't necessarily belong to the same group. In such instances, I definitely have seen a change in the last few years where typically the creative agency would get briefed first. There would be a certain direction, and then the media agency would get briefed. The interesting shift now is there is a certain level of consumer understanding that is slightly better rooted in what the media side of the business does, and it becomes inputs before creative thinking happens. So I think that's a nice it's a nice bridge to natural collaboration in that sense. Of course, if everything is within the holdco, it's easier to deliver that. But if you're looking at two competitive holding companies, one creative, one media, it kind of makes it interesting, and it gives you a very natural way of collaborating and being non-territorial, if I may, in that sense. And ultimately, all parties are working towards making that North Star of that client possible. So that's probably the only so-called visible shift that one can see. But other than that, I mean, I reckon with what they say, there isn't anything new. It's just the pace. The fundamentals are yet the same. It's just the pace.
Yeah, in fact, even if the creative agency and the media agency are not from the same group, I have seen a lot more matured conversations, to be honest. Things have changed. People have realized that it's not sole anymore. It's not individual anymore. In fact, I'm sure all of us have clients where maybe we are handling media, we are not handling creative, or we are handling creative, we are not having media. But when we sit in the room, it's an agency for the client. And I think more matured, why I said was because in the past, a media agency would be not wanting to be vocal and saying, look, I didn't like the creative route. It's basically a client's prerogative to say that. Why should I be opening my mouth? But today, I think there is enough and more positive conversations which are happening, and I guess that's the change also which I see, to be honest.
One quick one, I mean, for all three of you. Do you see a North Star which is becoming very probable for all three of you, which you see you could have different answers? The media silos have been the Excel sheet, which looks pretty much the same for a long time, but in the last 5 years, it has undergone a lot of change, right? The three things that at least I can remember starkly is obviously the short form content, which has really stood out, the influencer marketing strategies, which are a clear, important part of most marketing strategies, and third is obviously connected TV. Is there a North Star in this, or are you hearing equal of it? I mean, if you have a particular one that you're hearing a lot more from your clients and you're saying, no, guys, we need to focus on this one particularly, or has it got an equal balance of it in general?
I mean, it depends. It depends on
Which the client
the
is.
category. It truly depends on that. If you're if you're in the beauty space, you will over-index on influencers because naturally lends itself there. But as some other category, you may not. I think it solely depends on what the client category is, what does that break down to, and what do people respond to and where they respond to. I don't think there is a please use A over B in a playbook at all. In fact, for the same client and same category, it might change between January to April also. I think a lot of my clients have stopped doing AOPs now, because there was a time that you would chalk out one annual plan and then just be really diligent about it month on month. You just can't anymore. I mean, you're probably, some of the pristine ones are still doing quarterly, and the rest are just saying, just do as you go. I mean, put a layout for the year, but it's not a prescription anymore. You never know.
You know, the other thing which I would like to add, apart from the category, is the client KPIs. So for example, even if it's a beauty client or an auto client or a BFSI or retail, if tomorrow they're wanting to do an outcome-based campaign, or if they're wanting to do a performance-based campaign, definitely they will try and talk about what are the kind of platforms where I would want to invest, because it's all related to sales. It's all related to outcome. So it depends on what the client KPIs are, also at the end of the day.
The other, to me, reality that one blends today, and I see more clients talking about it, is, of course, I have an outcome-based plan, my performance, my commerce. What about my brand? You know, because there is so much fickleness in the way consumers interact with brand. How do I bring back my brand love? And how do I bring back my brand love in my performance campaigns? How do I bring back my brand love in my commerce campaigns, where the decision is instantaneous, you know? And that to me will be an interesting space on how it booms.
All right, that's us guys, but I'm known to do this one thing that the big guy does on the big channel, and they get a big hamper. Naval is here, probably he has a big one at the back, but it's called a rapid fire. This is the unscripted part. This is the one that anyways, we went quite off the script. But this is a question where I ask you a question and try to put you on a spot, but without putting you on a spot. So the game is very simple. I ask you a question, you have the mic, just answer it, whatever comes to your mind. It is not putting you on a spot. So I'll go with you, Anisha. It's a pretty simple one actually. If you could revive one past media format, jingles, mascots, or print inserts, I'm really going back. Which one would you like to bring back? You don't see a lot of this, at least I don't recall.
Okay, jingles aren't gone. I still hum some. Mascots aren't gone at all. I'm not very sure which past. But inserts, no. I mean,
No.
I never really cared much. I don't know.
Okay, VT, I have a question for you. If you had a marketing campaign to clean the air of Delhi, what would Delhi? What would your campaign tagline be?
No.
Now in limited stock, breathe responsibly, conditions apply.
Wow. Yeah. She's saying, I'll stop smoking.
I'll stop.
Okay.
All right, that's the campaign.
Sorry, I
alright.
didn't hear the 2 or 3 options.
The 3
She's
options
chatting.
were for the campaign timeline. It's now in limited stock, breathe responsibly, conditions apply.
None of them.
None of them.
Because it's at the end of the day, UI, and I don't know what they need to do, but they need to definitely clear the air. But yeah, breathe responsibility.
Leave the city.
Leave the city. Run. That's quite an impactful campaign. Be the last one for you. If India's women cricket team recent win had a theme song, which Bollywood track would it be? Chak De India. All right. That's us guys. Thank you for this amazing panel, and thank you for being a lovely audience.